Ethereum liquid staking tokens are going through the roof. Lido is up 150% in a month, similar to Frag shares, while other protocols such as Rocket Pool are quickly catching up. But that's not all. NFTs are also seeing massive volumes for 5 consecutive weeks, showing little signs of slowing down. What's up, everyone? It's George from Crypto Potato, and today I'm joined by Martin Lee from the crypto analytics company Nansen. We're going to crunch some numbers and understand why LSD coins are surging, will they keep going up, as well as what other narratives are taking shape in the first weeks of January. Stay tuned, and as always, if you enjoy our content, please make sure to like the video and subscribe to our channel with the notification bell on, so you don't miss on any future episodes. Now, let's dive in. Hey, Martin, first of all, thank you for agreeing to do this. I think we're going to have a lovely discussion. And starting right off, can you perhaps give us a small introduction of yourself? What were you doing before joining Nansen? What's your background? And yeah.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, thanks so much for having me. Really happy to be here. So I think quick introduction about myself. So I got into crypto right when I was about to graduate, class of 2020. So it's like peak COVID. But back then I was also working at a e-commerce firm. I was doing more like strategy type stuff there, slightly more like data analysis, but not like super advanced stuff. Yeah, but I was basically looking for, I guess, like asset classes which I could actually invest my money in. Stocks didn't look too good to me at the time, purely because they were trading at like crazy valuations. And a friend actually introduced me, kind of like recommended like Bitcoin to me at the time. So back then there was this really strong Bitcoin is gold narrative, which I really kind of fully agreed with. So I started going down, I guess like various like crypto rabbit holes, read the ETH white paper, started really understanding the whole ecosystem. And I was just spending like way too much time, yeah, and while also having my own like normal day job, that I figured like it would kind of make more sense if I was working in crypto as well.
Right.
So yeah, so I was following Alex Savanovic, and I guess like the whole general Nansen Twitter for quite a while. Happened to actually see the opening for my current position, applied, and somehow got in. Yeah, so that's like a really like brief version of my journey so far.
When did you join Nansen?
So I joined I think December 2021. So it's slightly over a year now, and it's been really exciting. Yeah.
It's been a good year, yeah.
Yeah.
And what do you think of the current market conditions? Let's just dive right into it and what's going on with crypto right now. What do you think, like in general, what do you make of what's going on right now? We've had this, like some call a rebound rally up to 21K for Bitcoin. A lot of the altcoins followed and even outperformed. So what do you make of the current market conditions?
I think there's a level of like mean reversion that's currently happening. So we have had like basically downtrending markets for a couple of months, probably like almost a year by now.
Right.
Yeah, and sentiment has been like extremely bearish. So the way I see it is like we are having a level of, I guess, like a slight reversion to the mean, where we were like way too bearish for way too long. So like I guess like currently we're having like a form of rally, but how sustainable the rally will be, I'm not too sure. Like I definitely don't think we kind of like fly straight back up to like 60K, 4K ETH, that kind of thing. Yeah, but it's definitely nice to see, like I guess like we haven't had a really strong rally in probably like a year or so. So it's always nice to see. Yeah.
And do you think the 15, the 16 case where the bottom may have been formed, or what's your position in this? Because the entire community is currently torn. Like from the one side we have this, we've bottomed out. From the other side, there are still those people who think the final capitulation hasn't come in yet. So where do you stand on this?
Yeah. So based on what I see on chain, like based on like the different smart money wallets which we have tagged, I would say smart money is still pretty defensive. Like definitely have a sizable portion of their portfolios in really safe, I guess in like safer assets. So like stable coins,
Right.
ETH itself. So I would say general positioning hasn't changed that much. While we do see smart money starting to kind of like deploy a little, I think the last I checked, which was yesterday, roughly 26% of smart money portfolio is still in stables. So that's like pretty high percentage.
36? I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
26.
26, okay, yeah.
Yeah, 26, yeah. So it's
Right.
still like fairly high. During like I guess like the whole 2020, 2021 run mania. It actually, the lowest it has dropped to was like four, like roughly like 3 to 4%. So yeah,
That's
so
a
like
lot, but
26% is, yeah,
yeah.
26% is still like fairly conservative. So I would say from that perspective, it's kind of like still pretty uncertain. And it's fairly obvious as well. Like people are really, really split on whether we'll have one more final capitulation,
Right.
which will take us all the way down. But I guess so far we've been in a really, really tight ranging market, right? Like we haven't really seen large moves either to the upside or further down as well.
Right.
So yeah, but my own personal view, this isn't like any like data backed thing,
Of
just my
course.
own
Yeah.
personal view, is that I try to be contrarian. So when I see like really negative sentiment, I tend to flip the other way.
Yeah.
Um, so my own view is that like we may have found a like bottom for the like foreseeable future. So foreseeable, for me, foreseeable is like 3 to 6 months. Yeah, but
Right.
whether we have one more like further down the road, I'm not too sure. So I'm just making this up based on like general sentiment and being like contrarian.
Right.
Yeah,
And also, as you mentioned, there's plenty of capital sidelined, I guess,
yeah,
26% of smart money in stable coins. That's
yeah,
quite a bit.
yeah,
And we've also seen with this most recent rally, we've also seen some smaller narratives play out, like, for example, liquid staking derivative coins. We have Lido, we have Frax, we
yeah.
have Staffy, we have a whole bunch of them. Uh, can you perhaps walk us through this particular narrative? We have a guide on this. I'll link it in the description. Just a quick introduction to liquid staking for those who might not be aware of it. How would you describe it? How is it different than staking it right into the big depositor contract?
Yeah. So liquid staking. Okay, so I think I will begin first with explaining how to stake ETH. So
Right.
if you want to stake ETH currently, um, the only way is you then spin up your own validator node, and you need a bare minimum of 32 ETH. 32 ETH at current prices is still like 45,000
It's a
US
lot
dollars.
for a lot of
Yeah,
people. It's a lot of money.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and yeah, for like most people, 45,000 isn't something which you can like freely just like
Yeah.
drop. Yeah. So because of that, um and historically you cannot unstake the ETH as well. Yeah. So there's kind of like there's like two main issues to this. So one, there's high capital requirements. The other one is whatever is stake is kind of locked up for a
Right.
indefinite period.
Completely
Yeah.
illiquid until,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, which makes it like really capital inefficient as well. Yeah, so I guess the natural solution to this would be liquid staking. So liquid staking essentially means that you get a liquid token in exchange for whatever you have staked. In this case, ETH. So just a really quick example. So for example, if you stake your ETH with Lido, they give you a ST ETH, which is fully liquid and you can interact with various DeFi protocols, making it much more capital efficient. And it comes with the upside it has a much, much lower minimum amount of ETH stake. I can't recall the exact amount, which I probably should know by heart, but it's like 0.1 or like 0.01 ETH. So it's like
Right.
way,
Right.
way more like friendly. Yeah, so that's basically like what that's basically the brief run through of liquid staking. Yeah.
Let me check this for you as well. What
Yeah.
was the minimum amount? Because now I'm curious as well.
Yeah,
I think it was
it's
0.1 ETH or something
yeah,
like that. Yeah.
yeah, something like that. Yeah. So it's like really low amount. 0.1 ETH at today's prices is like $150.
Yeah.
So definitely like way more like most people can probably afford $150 of ETH. Yeah, and then you have the added benefit of having the ability to actually be much more capital efficient and use and I kind of I guess like maximize whatever gains which you can get by staking your so like first step would be like you will stake ETH in with Lido you get you and then you in return you get the ST ETH token which you can then stake with like Aave for example and then you can kind of like compound returns on that.
On Lido, actually, there is no minimum amount, I think.
Oh, there's no minimum amount.
Yeah,
Oh, that's
yeah.
cool. Okay, then it might
Don't
be a
quote me
rocket
on
pool or
this.
something.
I won't also, I also won't quote myself on this, but I think there is no minimum amount
Yeah.
there. Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah. Yeah, I think it's one of the other larger ones has a very small, like it's almost like no minimum amount. Yeah.
Right, right. The minimum for Rocket Pool, there is like a minimum deposit needed of 0.01 ETH.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So maybe
Yeah.
that's
It
it.
should be
Yeah.
rocket pool. Yeah.
Yeah. And another benefit, right? So you get these derivative ETH tokens,
Yeah.
which are synthetic. You can do whatever you want with them, trade them, buy them, lock them,
Yeah.
farm with them, and you still get the yield from staking in
Yeah.
the right. So
Yeah.
yeah. And why do you think right now people started to look into this particularly because in the past year we didn't see much
Yeah.
traction and it seems like in the past 2 weeks everyone is talking about the LSD narrative with Ethereum Shanghai upgrade coming up. So could you perhaps walk us through why this happened right now?
Yeah, so this is like it's basically like what you mentioned, because of the upcoming ETH Shanghai update. So essentially the update then kind of like opens up withdrawals. So so you kind of now know that okay, if I do stake my ETH, I can withdraw it. While it is not like instant, you at least know that you have that option there
Right,
and your ETH isn't locked up for like 4 or 5 years and you have
right,
no idea when it's gonna. Yeah, so that kind of makes staking a lot more attractive because like you also have that level of I guess like confidence and general and general safety. Yeah, knowing that okay, if I do want to withdraw, I have that ability to. So that kind of like it kind of put a spotlight on I guess on ETH staking in general, and naturally I guess like ETH LSDs. Yeah.
right. And how long do you think this narrative is going to last for?
It's quite difficult to say, but with most narratives we've seen so far, it typically dies off once like on the actual day itself. So,
Right,
like for example, like the ETH merge, was such a huge was such a huge conversation of yeah such a huge topic, but on the merge day itself, once it successfully
yeah,
passed, like people completely stopped talking about it.
yeah.
So I think the update is scheduled for March, or
Right.
at least that's like the latest update. So it probably dies off like in like by March probably
Right.
if nothing goes wrong, of course.
Right.
Yeah,
So the public testnet, I think Shanghai will hit public testnet in February,
in
and
Feb,
then
yeah.
it's scheduled for the mainnet in March.
Yeah,
Assuming they
so
manage to unlock withdrawals, which I've also
yeah,
heard, I remember from somewhere, but once again, I'm not particularly sure about this, that withdrawals won't be enabled all at once, right? So people won't be able
right.
to, yeah, they
Yeah,
will be able to unstake gradually. And do you think, because there is currently over 15 million ETH staked
yeah.
in the Beacon depositor contract, do you think unlocks will dumb the market?
Uh
It's a
so
sketchy question. I know it's a
yeah.
sketchy question, but still.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So like so there's like I guess like there's like two main like camps on this. So one is the obvious one where you have a token unlock, so naturally you have like more sell pressure, hence like it'll be a massive dump. But I think the more likely scenario is that we may see like I guess we may see a price drop in Lido, for example, and various LSDs purely because the whole narrative has like died out. But ETH itself, we probably see a much like smaller drop from a narrative standpoint. But I would think that the update isn't extremely bearish in general for a couple of reasons. So first one would be users might be more incentivized to actually stake, which then increases the whole like net amount stake despite having withdrawals open. Because I should also know the exact number by heart, but I can't really recall the exact number. But there's quite a limited number of ETH which can be unstaked daily. So that kind of like helps to spread out the whole like sell pressure. And if currently, even though there's I think 16, I think as of yesterday it was like 16.1 million ETH staked in the contract.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, like it's still a really, really low percentage of the overall ETH supply. I think there's only about 14% of ETH's total supply stake currently, while other like I guess most other large proof of stake chains, Solana, Avalanche, Cardano, I guess.
Right.
Yeah, they all have like north of 50%. Some of them like hitting like 80-ish% staked. So if it's still like way, way below that,
Right.
and I would largely attribute that to because like for these other chains, you do have a lockup period, but it is like a defined thing. Like, you know, okay, after 21 days, I can unstake my Atom. But for ETH, like we didn't have any clarity until now. So I would say like if ETH gets a decent amount of traction there, moving from like 14% just up to like 30% is like double the amount stake already. And
Right.
even that would still put it way below the other L1s. So for that reason, I would say like while we might see larger sell pressure at the beginning because of this whole like massive like unlock, and there'll be people that have been wanting to actually get out for a while now.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that might cause like a slight bearish like movement, but I don't think it will be sustained. And over time, we probably see larger amounts of ETH being staked.
Right. And
Yeah.
it's curious that you bring that up because I recently spoke to Matt Nelson, who's a product manager at Consensus. And
Oh,
he was following the work of Ethereum developers on the Shanghai upgrade very closely. And their thesis is that unlocking withdrawals will actually incentivize more people to start staking because they will have the deadlines, like you can stake, you can unstake, where this ambiguity will be gone, will be exactly. So it's really curious to see how it will pan out. And circling back to the LSD narrative, one thing that I can't bring my head around is, so if people start on staking, wouldn't they be incentivized to start staking again, but on those LSD platforms, right? Or it wouldn't actually matter because then they can stake directly into the depositor contract. Maybe this removes only the second impairment, which is the large capital requirement. Because if you want to stake directly to the contract, you would still have to stake 32 ETH, right? And if you want to stake, but I guess those who stake in the depositor contracts already have them. So yeah.
So I guess like staking with a LSD still has the advantage of being much more capital efficient.
Right.
Yeah, because like regardless of whether you can withdraw or not, once you have money locked in to if you stake it directly, you kind of like have the ETH just sitting there. You can only earn the APR of whatever ETH is paying out, and you kind of lose that additional compounded yield which you can get if you use if you use like Lido, for example. Yeah, correct. So, but I guess LSDs also have their own risk, of course, like smart contract risk and stuff like that. So so it's kind of like a trade-off, right? Like you're having slightly more risk, but obviously with higher yield, versus like you can go like super plain. If you have 32 ETH, you can just spin up your own node, stake it directly. Yeah. So but I would say like it's still extremely beneficial to kind of like use LSDs in general. If you're feeling slightly uncomfortable, you can split up into various LSDs. Then you kind of like reduce your counterparty risk to that extent. Yeah.
Yeah. And so let's put that aside now. I think we've discussed it.
Yeah.
You recently started posting about the increased demand in NFTs.
Yeah.
I think from the information is from yesterday or the day before that. I'm not particularly sure, but you mentioned that the past 5 days demand for NFT has been up only. Why do you think that is?
Yeah, it's actually 5 weeks actually. So
5 weeks.
it's been,
Yeah, I'm
yeah.
sorry. 5 weeks. 5 weeks.
No,
Correct.
it's fine. So yeah, so it's been a while now. So the way I see it is that like it's not really anything out of the ordinary. So it's kind of like in line with what we have seen in the past like cycle, where whenever we have long periods of very boring broader market movements where there's basically no movement and
Right.
prices are extremely stable, NFTs tend to go on their own mini run whenever that happens. Um, exactly why? I don't think anyone like really knows
Right.
exactly why, but there's been a trend that we have seen in like the past like 1 to 2 years, and it's been quite consistent, in fact. So I guess like in the past like 2 to 3 months, like price actions across the broader market was extremely stagnant. Then so NFTs kind of like went on their own like small little run. Like some projects obviously went on like massive runs, like Pudgy Penguins, for example.
Right. Right.
Yeah, just like flew straight off through the roof. But larger projects, you see more like very like gradual and smaller movements. Yeah.
And for the last 5 weeks, have you seen some sort of a trend where certain projects perform better than others, or is it just across the whole market?
Yeah, so there was this really short wave, mostly led by Pudgy Penguins. There was this whole like cute NFT wave.
Right.
Yeah, like Pudgies were the leader and a bunch of smaller cute NFT projects also went on their own small runs. So like that was like the clear standout one across the market. We saw like large collections like Bored Apes, CryptoPunks all have like decent number of green days. But a lot of them have since retraced quite a bit, like roughly 10-15% from that run. So doesn't seem to be really sustained. But overall trading volumes have been more or less like very gradually increasing in the past few weeks as well. So there's like a level of like life coming back to the NFT markets.
Right. Okay. So, and to cap it off, have you seen, based on your analysis, some other trends perhaps taking shape right now that we can expect to perhaps accelerate or start trending in the future? Well,
Yeah,
by future, I mean like
yeah,
obviously shorter term because
yeah. I think the most like obvious one for now would be like ETH L2 activity. So Arbitrum and Optimism are both seeing really strong activity growth relative to ETH. So like daily number of transactions, for example, on Arbitrum and Optimism have been increasing quite steadily for a couple of months now, while ETH itself has stayed like relatively flat or slightly downtrending.
Right.
So that in itself is quite a clear indicator that activity is starting to shift quite heavily towards like ETH L2s. So ETH L2, the whole ETH L2 narrative actually came out like way back, but it didn't really it didn't really happen. But as of now, we can really start seeing like ETH L2 starting to gain like sizable traction. And I think the combined activity on ETH L2s have exceeded ETH itself now. So yeah, so they've finally like started to really like take shape. Yeah, so I think as all the various ecosystems develop, and historically we have mainly seen optimistic rollups because those came out first. further down the line, we probably see like a ZK rollup start to really take shape. That would be interesting to watch as well. So yeah, like the whole layer 2 ecosystem, definitely something that I think would do relatively well, maybe not in price, but at least in terms of like gaining traction this year.
Right. Well, mate, I think that sums it up.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for this. It was really informative.
Yeah,
And
thank you. Yeah, thanks for having me.
yeah, and maybe you can tell us where people can find you on socials and stuff.
Yeah, so I mostly tweet on Twitter. Handle is the MLPX, so THEMLPX. You can probably like find me there. Yeah, I'm mostly active on Twitter. If you message me over on LinkedIn, I won't really reply that often. So yeah, Twitter is probably where you can find me.
Yeah, you and me both. LinkedIn is kind of
Yeah,
okay.
yeah,
Thank you once again. It was a
yeah.
pleasure to record.